Hey, good morning. Yesterday, I found something. So we've had this thing going on, and something got proved yesterday that I'd actually found evidence for more than 2 weeks ago, which is that the end of October, to post for November 1st of 2021, was an option, a terminating option that was aimed at me. I wrote something on November 1st, 2021. It would have been my attorney general, right? It was a proclamation regarding divestment under Texas law and consideration of unlawful executive actions. I've actually written this up and I've posted it on a blog I did. But what happened was somebody set up an option on that day that was meant to be executed for later in the month. As a matter of fact, it was meant to be executed between 21 and 22 days later in the month. And on the 21st day, I found something that was disturbing, but on the 26th day, I went back to look at it because my understanding is there was some sort of proceeding going on, and this fit with what had happened in September 21st and 22nd. 60 days, 61 days, right? They had set up a terminating option on November 1st to be effectuated on November 20th. And it didn't come through, at least not to me directly. My understanding is it was. But what ended up happening instead was horrific. I had already gone through October, and when they were posting the payment for the child tax credit in October, I had to listen to what was written and underwritten in the background with what they stole from me. And it was some of the most hateful things I've ever experienced. At that time, I met somebody, and I had a venture, I guess you could say, outside of the city. They had offered to let me stay outside of the city for a couple of days to take a shower, but of course the next morning, their parents are coming in from town. I understand that that was actually some consideration period on whether or not to execute that terminating option on me. But in the meantime, between the middle of October and the middle of November, the underwriting that they had put into effect in connection with what they were doing was so hateful and it was so devastating that I don't even really know how to talk about it. There were memes and there were acronyms and they were some of the most racist stuff I ever saw. And while they had it going on in my background, I saw the manifestation on the street. And it was as if there were other people that were working some sort of cross current or some sort of swap out where they were supposed to experience it as clever, I guess, but it's incredibly hateful and it's incredibly fucking anti-Semitic. And the worst part about it is they do these horribly ritualistic anti-Semitic things and they pretend to play Palestinian. They do it as if they're somehow down with the Palestinians. And so I'm supposed to believe that Palestinians are actually supporting these people in doing these incredibly hateful, incredibly anti-Semitic things. And they are aimed at using this purportment of, this positioning of the Jew as some sort of target of derision, up to and including very significant religious persecution. And the problem is, when you're subjected to something like that, you have a way of internalizing it. And it's gotten really severe with me, and it has before, and it did, between October and between November. On November 22nd, I found something that discussed the invasion of Poland by the Nazis. And in the course of reading this, what I found is that the dates and this timeline correlated so specifically with what I had just experienced. I even made a chart where I listed the dates from the discussion of the Nazi invasion of Poland. And I correlated it with deadlines, not just in the case regarding the eviction, but in all of my cases. And the correlations between what otherwise seemed to be incomprehensible actions by the court and a specific tearing to the invasion of Poland was harrowing. It was harrowing and it was disturbing. The specific concern had to do with how the state of Texas I filed a petition against the Texas State Senate, and they sent me a order on August 18th. If you compare what they did on August 18th with what they did on September 3rd, It's comparable to what they did with my writ of habeas corpus and my leaves for information in the nature of quo warranto, where they were swapping options between the two. And ultimately, what was the end result? My understanding is they've tried to flip it. They tried to make it look like somehow I was ungrateful that somebody saved a Holocaust Jew. That's my understanding. And that's what I had to hear all fall. All autumn, my background was, well, you're not grateful. You're not grateful. Sam saved you. Sam saved you. And they keep doing this thing with the food. Every time you get food, you're supposed to be grateful because it means they're saving you. What do I do about this? This is the fifth time I have found either a bullet or a bullet casing on my way. I found this the day before yesterday. I haven't said anything until now. It's the fifth time. I found it outside of school. Across the street, outside of school. Across the street, and then right there on the corner, on the sidewalk, as I'm walking. I found it right there in the middle of the street. Now the caliber on this is different than the ones I found before, but it's the same company. This is the fifth bullet casing I've found. Bullet casing or bullet. I have two bullets, two full bullets. I have a third one that is a hollow point bullet. They find when they drop these, it's very important. And they have them in the specific places. This is the third time I've found either a bullet casing or an actual bullet, including a bullet for a high-powered rifle, right in front of a fucking school. Now see, this is the way I understand it. Somebody wants to say that they're protected under freedom of religion and engaging some sort of ritual practice for which I've been targeted. Apparently, I've been targeted since I was 4 years old. Here's the problem. Your deadline's up, assholes. Your 40 years is fucking over. And the problem is, you had a timeline yourself. You're not allowed to do this anymore. Every fucking time you try to do this, you already know by your own rules and by your own protections, you're not allowed to do it. Now, maybe I have done something nobody else has ever done before. That might well be the case. I might very well be in a position to do other things nobody else has done before. What do you want me to do about you? I just want to know, what do you expect to happen now? I haven't met one person in the state of Texas that has shown anything close to moral turpitude. I haven't met one person in the state of Texas that has shown anything close to a willingness to take responsibility for how much the rest of the world is supposed to pay for this crime and this grime that they do in Texas. When you guys let them cut that video off yesterday, whoever you are, the libraries, the places around here, you like to send messages, you cut it off at a very specific time. Almost as if you want me to believe, again, well, the Palestinians are in it with us. No, I don't fucking believe that. I don't believe any real fucking Palestinian has anything to fucking do with you. Any more than any real fucking Jew did. So who are you? Because what you've done is you succeeded in characterizing the entire fucking state of Texas, going all the way back to the public, as a cesspool of Satanism. And there is no redemption for that. There's no redemption for that. I hear you. Somebody accused Texas specifically of genocide. So what you've done is you've kept entrenching this ceremony that your culture, which is aimed at murdering other people as part of some fake Christian scheme, your culture is on attack. It's in attack. And people are trying to genocide you. No, they're defending themselves against evil. You created this evil with your misrepresentations of other people. When you projected it onto them, it became so severe, you became it. But the problem is, the whole time I've been here, not one fucking person has spoken out against it. Even when you talk about crime, even if you talk about corruption, it's just a ruse to cover your ass. Your insurance is canceled. I am not fucking paying for insurance for Satanists that engage in campaigns of murder and think it's cute. You think it's fucking cute. See, the problem is, I'm pretty certain that it's the boys in blue that do shit like this. I heard them in fucking Houston. I know how they set shit like that up. I'm not gonna fucking pay for your fucking insurance. My life was not your insurance. You were not allowed to do this to me. Get this straight. You were not allowed to do this to me. You were not allowed to do this to my sister. You're not allowed to do this to another kid, even if it's your own.